Hello there. My name is Teresa and I'm one of the CityU librarians, and in this brief video I hope to show you how to find and calculate industry ratios for your assignments. As I understand, you have a financial information case analysis, and in that case analysis you're asked to analyze a company's performance in terms of ratios, stock, debt, etc. So what I'm going to focus on here is ratios. You're needing to compare the performance of your company's ratios and also look at an industry average so you have a benchmark to compare your company. So how do you go about doing this? Well, first of all, you need to find the companies that are peers to yours. So you may already know some companies that are the peers or top competitors that you're going to focus on, but if you haven't, I can show you in another video how to find those peer companies. But having said that, we're now going to look at you take the top 5 companies that are competitors to your company, and then you simply apply this formula. But before I show you the formula, which is very, very simple, I'm going to focus again on the key ratios that you're looking at. You're looking at ratios such as liquidity, solvency, profitability, cash flow, and efficiency. So I'm not here to teach you about the ratios that you're looking for, but simply where to find them and how to calculate an industry average. So here's the steps. Very, very simple. You start by identifying your company's top competitors or industry peers. You want to take the top 5 or so. The reason I say or so is that in your industry there may be only a top 3 or 4, but if possible you want to get 5 for a good average. So then for each of those top 5 companies you obtain the company's key ratios. I'm going to show you where to find that. Then you simply calculate the average of those 5 companies. For example, you find the liquidity or profitability or cash flow ratios for one of those 5 companies. You do that for all 5 companies, and then you compare them, add them up, and divide by 5 to get each ratio. So from your 5 companies, you take the profitability ratio from each of the 5 companies, add, divide by 5, and there you have an industry average. It's that simple, but actually there are complexities to this. But I'm just saying take the top 5, divide by 5, and there's your industry average. So again, here's your, so to speak, recipe. But you may already have identified your top 5. So what I'm going to do is give you an example now of going to the databases and searching for those peers and finding their ratios. So from the CityU Library homepage, you're going to click on Search, click on Management to find all the business databases, and I'm going to use one database to demonstrate this. I'm using Morningstar Investment Research Center, and the company that I'm using as my starting point is the company CVS Caremark, and when I start to type it in, it automatically populates the match for me. So I simply chose CVS Caremark, and this is a pharmaceutical company. And from here, from the opening of this whole company profile, which starts at the quote, the stock quote, I'm going to go and look at key ratios. So here I have key ratios. I have first financials, and below the financials are the key ratios. I have the first one is profitability. I also have growth, cash flow, financial health, and efficiency. And you can see that for each of these ratios, I have a range from 2002 to 2011. So I have these ratios over time so that you can use the range that you want to calculate the company's average before you begin to search for the industry average. It's up to you how you work with these ratios, but they're all located here under the tab Key Ratios, where we started. What I like to do is I like to export this data into a file. I'm going to open the file, and here's my file. It begins with the financials, as you saw, and then it clearly marks it as for the company CVS Caremark Corporation, but below the financials are the key ratios that I want. So here's profitability, and as I scroll down I see growth ratios, and as I scroll down I see cash flow, efficiency, etc. So I take it up, and now I will save this. I'm going to choose to save this. Well, I can save it as a Unitext code, but I'm going to prefer to save it as an Excel, and I'm going to save it to my desktop, and there's my Excel file. I can rename this. I can say this is CVS Caremark Ratios, and I've got that saved, and now I can use that for CVS Caremark, and now I'm just going to go and look for my other 5 peers. So one thing that I can use, I'm going to return to the quote, which is kind of like your home page for the company profile, and I'm going to look at industry peers. If I didn't already know the companies that are the top 5 competitors, I would use this industry peers to compare who has the greatest net income per million to find my top peers. I can see CVS Caremark has a very large net income. I can also see that Aspen Pharmacare is a competitor, and likewise so is Walgreens Company. So what I'm going to do for simplicity's sake is I'm just going to take Aspen Pharmacare and Walgreens, and I'm going to find their ratios, and I'm just going to do 3 for my comparison, but you will obviously choose the top 5 or what is relevant for your company. So here I'm going to type in Aspen Pharma, and it begins to populate for me, and I can see that I've got Aspen Pharmacare ADR, and I also have the other one that didn't say ADR. This appears to be the ticker symbol. I believe this is non-American company, and if I look for ownership or registration, let's take a quick look at registration. Oh, takes me to the annual reports. So I'd have to find out. There's the ticker symbol there. It looks slightly different. But I can decide if I want to choose Aspen Pharmacare Holdings PLC or PLC ADR. It's up to me to decide which is the company I want. And actually, you'll notice this is kind of slow. If I don't choose right away, it kind of stops and doesn't take me to what I want. So here's the PLC. You're the one who decides what the peer companies are, so I don't have to go into that. But from this company, I simply click on Key Ratios. There I have my financials, and below, as I scroll down here, are my key ratios. Again, I have growth, cash flow, financial health, efficiency, and I have a time range from 2002 to, 2011. So the idea is that, and you can explore this TTM to find out what kind of a average or total that is. But anyway, all I'm showing you is how to get the ratios. You can then export just as I did. I'm going to cancel here, but I can save this file for the Aspen Pharmacare key ratios to compare to CVS, Caremark. And now I'm going to look for my third company. So my third company is Walgreens. And there it comes up. The ticker symbol is WAG. See, I waited just long enough for it to stall. So this time I'm going to enter WAG as my ticker symbol, and now here I am at the company. All I do is I go to key ratios, and you know it from here. You can export, and below here are all the key ratios that you want. So that's as simple as it is. I'm going to close out of Morningstar here, and I've returned to my CityU management databases, and here's where I started with Morningstar. And I want to recommend to you that when you get and calculate from your top 5 companies in your industry to create your industry averages, that you take your ratios from one of the business database providers. These key ratios could also be found in NetAdvantage or Mint Global, or they can also be found, let's see, well, there's another general database that would also give you company ratios. But if I'm calculating my industry ratios, I would want to stick with the same industry business provider. So if I use Morningstar, I would get all my ratios for my 5 companies from Morningstar from which to calculate my average, or I would use all NetAdvantage or all Mint Global, etc. So be consistent, because then your ratios will have more coherence and more solidity. And you can explore those other databases to see which one you would prefer to use. But there you have it. And I'll just return to this PowerPoint where I can show you these are the steps that we went through to calculate, and we can close with your assignment. So there you have it.